Okay. Well, hello everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here to interview Damien Latham, who you can see is sort of out in Saudi Arabia at the moment. He's the head of attractions of Seven Saudi Entertainment Ventures, which is a new PIF-funded operation that's really out there to design, develop and operate parks, leisure attractions and cinemas in Saudi Arabia, really sort of underpinning what is hopefully going to be a really fast growth in the attraction sector in that country. Welcome, Damien, and I hope your return to Saudi is going okay so far. It would be so great just to sort of get a bit more flavour from you as to what's going on in Saudi, because of course we had a big launch of Vision 2030 and things were sort of kicking off, and then clearly we've had this hiatus over the last few months, but there's a lot of everyone's looking there in the region, and it'd be great to just give us a bit more background as to what's going on, and then we can talk a lot more about what specifically you're up to.
Sure, thanks, Philip. It's great to be a part of this Blow Loop conference. Now, I guess I've been in the region for 13 years, and working for Majid Al Futtaim and EMA, I've seen and witnessed huge growth across all sectors of entertainment. Saudi Arabia really for me first came on the radar 3 or 4 years ago, and we start to see a very sort of slow build up of focus towards 2030, and obviously entertainment becoming more prevalent. And what I've witnessed since I've been working at Seven, which has been the last year now, is an absolute will to drive that mandate. A huge amount of growth, both in the private sector here currently, but obviously, with us at Seven and other entities under the PIF banner, clearly all focused on that goal of developing entertainment infrastructure, and frankly bringing in world-class attractions to the kingdom. So it's been an exciting year, and one that I've never witnessed before certainly in my 13 years of being in the region, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Dubai back in 2002, 2003, really.
Yeah, it was interesting. Just before before March and everything sort of locked down, Saudi had introduced the e-visas. I mean, what sort of kind of impact did that have? Just for those few months that it was people were able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's 49 countries now that have access to that e-visa, which means that we saw a massive influx of people coming into the kingdom. And I think we'll continue to see that. The Riyadh Seasons event that was put on, this time last year was a huge success, and you actually saw travellers coming from the GCC region to actually visit Riyadh Seasons, as well as obviously, predominantly the local market, sort of capitalising on that new and fantastic event. So I think opening up of the borders electronically. I myself applied for a visa. It took less than 15 minutes for it to appear in my inbox. So just a complete game changer.
Yeah, and hopefully soon, as you say, borders are reopening, that at least the local businesses can get back in.
Absolutely.
Maybe Damien, and some people may know this, but it'd be useful to just get a flavour. At the start of the Vision 2030, there was about 60 billion was that sort of mentioned as being the figure that was going to be invested in the entertainment sector, and there's quite a few key ambitions that were set out in that Vision 2030. Some of which, of course, Seven are there to deliver. But it'd be quite good for us to sort of get a bit of an update on where focuses have changed, or where the sort of bigger projects have got to since, as we're sort of coming out of this COVID sort of hiatus.
Yeah, I guess for the majority of projects here in the kingdom, really, obviously the impact of COVID has affected the whole world, without question, and to say that it just hasn't affected would be silly. Yes, it's effective, but I would say that most of our work right now, and most of the other big projects work, is in design, in the design aspect of that development chain. So, you know, a lot of that has been undertaken online, and certainly from our own perspective at Seven, we've if anything, have accelerated our design ambitions, and you know, continued all the way through the pandemic, and we'll continue to do so. You know, 14 hours worth of Zoom calls a day is quite the norm for anyone working on mega projects out here in KSA. Yeah, so all of those projects remain, you know, and in some cases are accelerating, I'd say. But I think from our own perspective, our mandate is still very clear. It's remained unchanged. It's 20 entertainment complexes across 14 cities, 50 cinemas in our partnership with AMC Cinemas, and of course 2 major theme parks. So, you know, it's very focused, and that will remain.
Yeah, so maybe that's a good segue, David, just sort of probably expand a bit on Seven and where you've got to on your journey. I know Bill Ernest had an interview with Lulu back in February, of course not anticipating that most of his team wouldn't be turning up until now. But it'd be great to get a sort of an update or a bit more detail in kind of in where you've got to. And I know cinemas have begun to open, and you'll talk about your partnership with AMC and maybe any others that you're looking at, because you probably from the attraction sector are the big game in town, I'm imagining, and we can probably talk about some of the others as well.
Well, we're one of the games in town. You know, I think, you know, that there's an existing, very well established private, you know, private entertainment companies within the kingdom that are incredibly well defined, and they have their own plans and their own ambitions. I think together with projects like Seven, you know, the whole objective for the kingdom is to raise the bar and continue raising that bar, and you know, that's the beauty of entertainment. There's always something different, always something new, always a new attraction to explore, and Seven's, you know, very much an integral part of that journey. And whilst our ambition and our mandate is to design, build, you know, and where necessary operate, we're very much inviting the private sector along with that journey. So, you know, there will be opportunities for the private sector to come in and hold a place within our entertainment complexes. The sheer size and scale of our ambition and mandate is that, you know, we can't do it on our own. We don't want to do it on our own. It needs to be hand in hand with partners. So yeah, very much the door is open and welcome the private sector to come in. Just on where we are, we are currently at a more advanced stage of design with 2 of our entertainment complexes here in Riyadh, at Al Hamra and Al Nada. Both of those locations are you know, an advanced stage of design. We're very confident that working with the partners that we've got in both those locations, that we've got world-class assets, you know, that are evolving very, very well. So we're working with, you know, CRTKL on Al Hamra. On Al Nada, we've got Gensler as our lead design architect, and you know, underpinning the creative side of things, we'd engaged with Thinkwell Group, who've done some fabulous work also in terms of helping us define just how our entertainment complexes are going to be presented to our guests, and ultimately, you know, assisting us in enabling the guest vision, which is obviously crucial to that all-important word repeatability, because our complexes will be highly repeatable in nature.
And maybe because when we had a brief chat beforehand, Damien, you sort of we talked about these entertainment complexes, which is, I suppose, I was thinking is this kind of natural evolution that we've had, clearly probably accelerated by what's happened recently, is that, you know, retail shifting more to an online and e-commerce model, and of course many kind of historic malls are kind of looking a bit bereft of footfall as a result. You've sort of flipped that a bit on its head, I think, in your thinking, and it'd be quite good to, you know, to just give some flavour of the size and what kind of components and the mix and how you're how you're seeing this design working, because I think it'll be very interesting for many
Yeah,
people.
I mean, you know, since coming to the region, I've always, I guess I've always witnessed that a lot of the time there's a tendency to look to the west or to the east in terms of what are the trends. But actually, I think the region, the MENA region, really sets the trend and has been setting the trend because of the climatic, challenges in terms of the heat and things like that. Everything was very much from a very, very early on driven indoors. So, you know, the percentage of real estate that's attributed to entertainment has always been much higher in the region than perhaps, you know, you'd see in North America or Europe. And that's now just amplified and accelerated with the explosion of e-commerce and people's shopping habits, somewhat changing. And then we've shifted focus, and our entertainment complexes will be very much focused. Probably 60 to 70% of the overall GLA will be entertainment attractions, and those attractions will take on different typologies. So you'll have everything in there from edutainment through to high thrill indoor ride-based FECs, through to indoor snow and ski attractions, water parks, aquariums. Literally, we've got more than 120 entertainment boxes across our 20 entertainment complexes that we're currently, scheduling and planning, albeit in the early stages.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think a shift definitely away from standard retail, and the balance of that entertainment complex will be very much focused on food and beverage with some specialty retail components as well.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned something there, Damien, in one of the components, which maybe for some of the listeners it will be quite interesting, was the curiosity about how successful snow parks are in the Middle East. And because when you were at MAF and the Mall of the Emirates, you ran one of these things, and it maybe just give some background to that, because that was hugely successful, wasn't it? And when it first went up, people couldn't believe why somebody would want to build something like that in the desert. But
there's well documented stories about the vision. Really came from the founder, Mr. Majid himself, to build an indoor ski slope in Dubai, and very much as part of that vision, Ski Dubai was created, and was a landmark project across the world, frankly speaking, from an entertainment perspective, and a general sort of construction perspective. And it's been a huge success for Majid Al Futtaim, something they're incredibly proud of, and so they should be. They've invested, they've ensured that attraction has maintained its relevance, and they've brought in new attractions throughout the years. And thankfully, I had the pleasure of being a part of that. And I witnessed a huge escalation in guest visitor numbers as a result of introducing things like the Snow Penguins project, and all sorts of wild and wonderful attractions that we put into Ski Dubai over the years, which led us on to actually building Ski Egypt in indeed Mall of Egypt, and then Snowman in Mall of Oman, obviously still under construction. But yeah, just a huge success from a numbers perspective. High attendance, high penetration, but also visually just such a great thing to look at, even if you're just eating some dinner with the family.
Yeah, I think I heard some stat, and you'll probably now correct me, but about 80% of the people who went into the Snow Park in Dubai were just there to watch. They play in the snow rather than actually get on the ski lifts and stuff like that.
Yeah, just the wonder of snow, Philip. Just the wonder of snow, and coming into that environment, having a hot chocolate in a snowy sort of alpine-based environment. Yeah, I mean, it was fantastic. So yeah, I think for sure a landmark project for the region, as there's been many. I mean, Dubai Mall Aquarium is another great example of a landmark attraction that really did anchor and does anchor, Dubai Mall.
Yeah, and all the yes, that really did expand well. So I guess following on because you're having so many sort of concepts and things within your entertainment centres. What sort of balance between IP, or how are you handling that side of things at the moment? It's the balance between creation, new things, existing. How far away is your thinking on that, Damien?
Well, it's ever changing. I mean, location-based entertainment IP is certainly out there, and we are talking to a number of global IPs that are interested in coming into the kingdom and working with us. And we'll continue to extend that invitation to others. With as many boxes as we've got, and the sheer amount of entertainment that we'd like to bring in, we're inviting a multitude of different IP partners to begin those discussions and really start to evolve something and create something new and unique. I'm hoping that within the early part of next year that we'll be able to make some key announcements there in terms of those partners. Some of them are completely new globally and certainly new regionally. So we're very excited about working on those concepts and evolving those concepts and bringing them into Saudi Arabia and the public and the children and the families that are obviously excited about something new coming in.
Yeah. So I'm guessing, just to clarify what you're saying without necessarily giving names, but obviously looking at consumer goods companies or whatever who haven't necessarily branded attractions in the past, rather than media companies who've got media IP. So we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Philip, it's all of the above. We're really talking to anyone that's got an existing IP in the market, in a market that's not in the region. We've got to focus, obviously, on we like unique concepts and concepts that really lean into the different age demographics that we want to appeal to. So, very much our attractions are broken down by typology. When you've got, 120 different boxes and 20 complexes, it's important to offer something for everyone. Whether that's pre-teen, preschool, edutainment, whether it's just thrill attraction or something more festive, then I really do think that there's a multitude of IPs that sort of lend themselves quite quickly and easily to that. Some of them, like I said, are existing LBE attractions. Some have aspirations of becoming LBE attractions. And yes, we're here to talk to those potential partners and hopefully evolve something from a blank canvas. I mean, what could be more exciting?
Right, excellent. And the operating model we were discussing, it covers the whole spectrum from, I guess, for you leasing a box to you being a JV partner in it, or even operating it yourself. Across that whole spectrum, you are open to all models. Is that right?
Absolutely, all models. We have to operate. Some of our boxes and some of our entertainment complexes will undoubtedly have multiple leases within them. Certainly, from a food and beverage and retail perspective. From an attractions perspective, as you know, the operator market is a lot smaller than food and retail. So, we're certainly going to be talking to potential operators that want to come in and assist us in that regard. And of course, we'll have our own operating team as well. This is about an entertainment ecosystem across the kingdom. When you're in 14 different cities, you've got the potential there, we think, to create more than 22,000 jobs across KSA. And, in that, our responsibility is very much to develop, this entertainment industry and really start to nurture the growth from within. So whilst we will potentially look at operators, that our own operating model is incredibly important to the overall mandate and ensuring that we've got that constant longevity in our business.
Great. Of course, one of the key things here, and I'm sure many people will be very curious about, is the customer themselves. And maybe we can give a bit of a flavour as to the Saudi, or who's this targeted towards, and maybe a bit of flavour of how things have changed. Actually, I mean, you and I know that, you know, in the last few years there's been massive change in the country into how people can socialise, etc. But it's probably worth giving a little bit of background as how you see that, and how, you know, you mentioned lots of consumer research, and just kind of what feedback you're getting.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you know, in my previous roles, every time a holiday happened in KSA, we'd see a huge influx. So, you know, I knew walking in and being, you know, more of an ingrained part of this journey, that there was you know, a need and a want and a passion for more entertainment. But I never imagined the overwhelming support for certain attractions. You know, we've gone out to more than 5,000 Saudi residents. We've gone out to families. We've gone out to multiple groups and asked a whole wide range of questions around different attraction types, different age segments, and obviously, you know, what do people want? And you know, I was quite amazed to see that water parks was almost the #1 attraction that guests wanted. Snow parks was very high on the list. Aquarium. So, you know, really everything that you know, the local residents had been traveling for, unsurprisingly, was exceptionally high on the list. And having world-class attractions on the doorstep is, you know, is perhaps a little bit more conducive than having to travel or, you know, fly to the nearest part of, you know, the rest of the region to actually get that entertainment fix. So unsurprisingly, we've listened to that guest research. We will continue to, you know, do very specific guest research, because, you know, this entertainment mix that we're putting together isn't really, you know, whilst the global audience will be a factor in that, the majority factor is really for our residents here, and to make sure that, you know, we've built a lasting legacy of entertainment throughout the kingdom, that people from the community will enjoy for years and years to come. And hence why I mentioned that word, that golden word that all of us in the attractions world love, which is repeatability. You know, without that, we're going to be no use to anyone. You know, we can't have this big one-off attraction that you know, is just solely reliant on tourism. You know, that's not what Seven's about. One of the other elements for our entertainment complex is a focus on wellness.
Okay.
So, you know, that everyday need for, you know, for you know, whether it be getting fit, whether it be health checks, whether it be, you know, more of a holistic wellness, whether it be mental health. I think, you know, we're defining right now what wellness means to Seven. And very much that is going to have and be an integral part of all of our complexes. So you know, that I think from a community perspective is incredibly important. And just when I'm talking about community, the other really important element for our complexes is evolving an ever-evolving entertainment space. And we're calling that, at the moment internally, we're calling it the black box, which is this kind of event space that constantly evolves. And, you know, whether that puts on, you know, comedy nights, whether it puts on local craft shows, plays, whether it puts on a more sort of, you know, global stage, we will have, you know, different sizes and different, yeah, mainly sort of different sizes that caters to different events at every single one of our entertainment complexes. So, you know, this ever-changing notion of new entertainment coming into our complexes is super important, again, for that repeatability, but also for the community aspect.
Yeah, no, it sounds a brilliant idea. And I suppose maybe just comparing and contrasting, Damien, to your experience in the UAE, that Saudi, and many people may not really appreciate this, is huge. I mean, it's over 35 million people, and the majority are Saudis. Whereas I suppose in the UAE, the sort of population or demographic mix is very, very broad, which I suppose possibly creating more of a challenge in the UAE, because in Saudi you're going to get a customer group that you can better understand and learn from, rather than trying to meet too many different requirements.
Well, I think both really. I mean, I think you've got to be agile in your development mindset, and I think a key part of Seven's approach has been, you've got to, when you're developing something, you've got to go back and you've got to recheck your customer base and make sure that it's going to fit into that particular surrounding. And Riyadh is very, very different to Daman or anywhere in the Eastern Province, as is extremely different to Abha, for example. And understanding these nuances is one thing, but actually digging in deep under the surface to really get to grips with that, so that we apply our development to the local market, is incredibly important. I can't tell you how much we're focused and on delivering that. So that's super important. And we must remember that more than 60% of that 35 million are under the age of 35. So incredibly tech savvy, well traveled, the desire to have the entertainment assets that are seen whilst traveling here in the kingdom is obviously high on the agenda.
Yeah. Brilliant. That's a great, sort of another key question I think many people will have if they're coming to the region to run sort of hospitality or attraction assets is the talent and the source of talent. So Saudi is changing so rapidly, and obviously doesn't have a hugely strong internationally based hospitality pool. How Seven and others looking to address that, to sort of get the skills and the training and everything?
Sure. I mean, it's starting early. What can I say? I mean, you can't start early enough in working with universities, working in creating training programs and indeed training institutes. And certainly, Seven's plans will have to and will include, extensive training institutes for young Saudi nationals to come in and indeed be a part of the entertainment ecosystem, and ultimately, we've already got a huge number of young talent that is hungry to develop and hungry to be a part of that. So we're really excited about that, and ultimately it will lead on to a huge amount of jobs here and a brand new sector going forward with all the huge projects that are going on. It can't happen without that without that focus, frankly. It's and that's probably one of the most rewarding parts, right? I mean, whilst we're busy developing, it's also really, really rewarding to see new people coming into the business and learning and picking up new skills. I mean, it's fantastic.
Excellent. One thing I didn't touch on, Damien, and maybe you can just give a bit of a flavour of where it's at. You mentioned 2 theme parks as the ambition. I appreciate one of them isn't the Six Flags that's going into Qiddiya. How advanced, or what's your sort of time frame? Have you got sort of the vision of what these parks might be yet, or is that still quite early stages?
It is quite early stages. We've certainly got all sorts of partners helping us with those sort of macro studies and then looking at the granular detail of what type of theme park typology we want to put in. Certainly we've already landed on where, so very much we'll be looking at Damian as one of our theme park destinations. In fact, there's a piece of land that we've already identified, and very much the entertainment complex and theme park will be in adjacencies next to each other. And then the other location that's still to be defined, but the area is very much a focus for us, is Abha, in the Asir region, which is a totally different climate, beautiful, mountainous green part of KSA, and somewhere that we think could be, a very, very unique proposition. A lot of people obviously live and reside in the Asir region, more than 2 million, in fact. But there is also a huge amount of local tourism because of the climate. So there's a real opportunity there to work with, the local leaders, and evolve, a wonderful theme park offering down there. And when I say theme park, obviously that goes across, amusement park, water parks, full-on theme parks as would be typically known. So, really that typology of theme park is still work in progress. But we're confident that the locations we've selected thus far will lead us to, developing something quite special.
Yeah. Well, it sounds, Damien, as if you've got quite a lot on your hands over the next few years. It'll be tremendously exciting. And I had in a previous sort of discussion, it's clearly, if you're focused on the Middle East, it's Saudi Arabia is the place where the investment and the development is happening. The change is rapid. So, as we discussed, your website is currently rather opaque. So if people are wanting to try and reach out, and I guess many people who will be listening to this have IP or themes or developers, etc. How do they reach you, or how do they engage with Seven? What would you suggest?
Well, I think, for sure, any potential IP partners can certainly find my details, can reach out direct. We have a business development team who will, pick that up and begin those discussions. We have obviously like any company would have a rigorous process that we go through in terms of vetting IPs and making sure that it's going to be conducive to, what we want, and indeed, more importantly, what the public wants. But we'd welcome anybody that's interested to reach out.
Excellent. Well, David, thank you very much indeed, and I hope people may not realise you're in quarantine at the moment, probably somewhere, but hopefully you get settled down and you can move around and get your team together. I'm personally spending quite a bit of time talking to Saudi at the moment. I'm still stuck in the UK, but I look forward to these developments with great interest, and I think some of these things will be very exciting. So, Damien, thank you very much indeed for your time today.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.